One last quick thing I'm going to wrap up the show today with. I want to hit one other very quick story. I said it was a coronavirus-free show, and it was until this last very segment. But I do want to mention something on our website, americacanwetalk.org. In addition to subscribing to the newsletter, which I urge you to do, hit subscribe on the homepage. You can subscribe to our once weekly newsletter. It's a great newsletter. It comes out every Friday. I never sell the list. I don't share the list. It's just for my use and keeping in touch with you, my just precious listeners and friends. But on that website, America Can We Talk to, or you can also read an article by a guy I just think is one of the most brilliant writers in America. His name is Daniel Horowitz, and he writes at the Conservative Review. And he's got a piece out called "It's Time for Revolt Against Intolerable and Indefensible Tyranny." And he ends the article with the phrase that I named this segment, "Party Like It's 1776." People, we have to recognize that the left is using the coronavirus scare, using the coronavirus, and it's a real thing, but using it to begin to take away our freedom. You heard it in the show a couple of days ago. We had Congressman Heiss talking about the loss of freedom in this country, where we have more and more people just surrendering to local entities, mayors, county government, state orders that are freezing us in place in our homes. Freedom, we can't move about as we'd like to. We're not allowed to leave our homes unless it's deemed by the government for an essential purpose. We can't have our businesses running unless the government says it's essential. We had an initial shock reaction to the coronavirus, and we chose a course we're now trying to undo. But we have to recognize and be vigilant to see the left will always, always, always use every crisis to seize power, to expand power, to justify tamping down on freedom. This great article by Daniel Horowitz is basically talking about, we are seeing astonishing level of tyranny and the taking away of freedom right in front of our eyes in this country, all done with the notion we're just trying to protect. We're just trying to help. We're trying to keep you safe. This is why we are handcuffing a dad in a massive park, and he's the only one there besides his 8 or 6-year-old daughter playing t-ball, and the dad was stopped and handcuffed because he's violating the can't leave your house unless it's essential. There's nobody else there. He's not spreading coronavirus, if he even has it, to anyone. But the stories, I did a litany of them. I think it was last Thursday. I've been talking about them on this show. You should be reading them. There are more and more and more and more stories, not just of individual abuses of power by police officers and mayors. We had Easter Sunday. We had mayors and governors around this country telling people they couldn't go to church on Easter Sunday, even if they sat in their car in a drive-in and couldn't even touch the person next to them in the next car. They were copying license plates and fining people. Mississippi had fining $500 a person for showing up at Easter Sunday in your car. You can say all this is justified or explicable because of the virus and the fear of the virus. But understand, there are leftists who always think that the standard they set today, the tamping down on freedom, the restrictions of freedom, become the norm for what is permissible. As Congressman Heiss said a couple days ago, as I've been saying on this show, we're going to have other viruses. We're going to have coronavirus come back, apparently, in May, in the fall, and maybe every year or seasonally, as Dr. Fauci has been saying. We can't start to say every time there's a crisis, and even a genuine crisis, that we suspend more and more freedom. We surrender more and more freedom. We cower in our homes waiting to be told if we're allowed to walk our dog 3 times a day. The stories that you are reading, they are just isolated cases, and the stories I've recounted for you, the stories you can read. But the broader picture is the changing in the whole sense of the culture of liberty in America, the whole notion of what liberty in a country means. Liberty means, it includes the idea that you have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, meaning you're allowed to do what you want unless you are harming others or breaking a law. And that means you're allowed to go for a walk with your dog 6 times a day. You're allowed to be in a park. You're allowed to run a business unless your business is an illegal business. To have a temporary suspension of freedom because of the coronavirus was maybe okay in the first, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks. But recognize, if the experts are telling us this virus is going to go on and on and on and on and on, and nobody's talking about, wait a minute, how much freedom do you get to take away from the people in response to this virus? We are unknowingly, blindly submitting to the taking away of the culture of liberty in America. Be alert to it now. Read Daniel Horowitz's article. It's on our website, americacanwetalk.org. In your communities, challenge your local authorities. Horowitz has, by the way, a list of a bunch of things he's suggesting we do, such as American citizens subject to these orders that we don't like very well. We ought to say, all top government officials, you don't get paid until this is over, till this shutdown's over. State taxes should be suspended. We have the state of Texas story out today talking about might have to raise property taxes in response to coronavirus. No. And if they're shutting down your freedom, they don't get to raise your taxes at the same time. Other Horowitz suggestions: all non-essential government workers should have their salaries and hours cut back 30% for every week while all of this goes on. County councilmen, state legislatures must permanently strip executives of emergency powers beyond 24 hours without consent from a legislative body. And this leads me to a closing of today's show, a quick story I wanted to update. I think it was all the way from last Thursday. I think it was last Thursday I was telling you about in Dallas County, we have our governing bodies called the County Commissioners Court. And so it's 5 people. We have the head of the County Commissioners Court, highest executive in the county, and his title is county judge. In Dallas, Texas, we have the county judge being the one waving around and showing at a press conference the false data created by the COVID Act Now people who turn out to be leftist Hillary Clinton supporters who made massively exaggerated estimates of how many people would be sick, would be hospitalized, would require ICU, and would die from coronavirus. And based on that, in Dallas County, that data was turned out to be grotesquely exaggerated. We had everything shut down. Dallas County, can't leave your home. You can get stopped by the police and asked where you're going. Is this an essential trip? You're only supposed to be going to the grocery store if it's essential. You're only supposed to be going out for doctor's appointments, picking up medications, or the grocery store. And literally people are being hassled. And so you have this county judge in Dallas who had floated the idea, the order right now in Dallas is through April 30th. He floated the idea, let's push it to May 20th. Last Thursday, when I was telling you this story, I was telling you about how there was ongoing, at the time we were talking, a hearing in which the other county commissioners, and Dallas is run by Democrats. We have one Republican on the county commissioners court, but that one Republican and one of the Democrats was saying, county judge, Mr. Chief Executive, we don't really think you ought to have unilateral power to continue to just announce by order that you're continuing the shutdown of Dallas. We think before you issue any more orders, and he's behaved badly with respect to this, the order that is in place already, but you have the county commissioner saying, we think we should have a hearing, like all of us, at least all 5 of the county commissioners should get to hear the issue, understand the evidence before we extend the shutdown order from April 30th to some future date. That you, county judge, should not have exclusive executive authority. The county judge fought against that. He was saying, no, it's an emergency. I may not have time. I can't make time to sit down. And I'm paraphrasing his words. I can't make time to sit down with the whole county commissioners court and hold a whole big hearing. I have to have absolute authority. I can issue orders without even having to consult the other people on the county commissioners court. So the end of the story, I didn't know when I told you the story last week, was there was actually a vote in the county commissioners court that the majority commissioners prevailed on the executive, the county judge, and said, you know what, actually, no, No, you're not actually a little dictator. You're not an emperor. You at the very least, have to have a hearing of the other members on the county commissioner's court. We're not going to just have the, rule by executive fiat by our county judge. That was a little bit of a long-winded story. And if you listen to this, any other place in America besides Dallas, it may seem too localized. But the reason I tell it is because this kind of thinking is expanding in this country. It's why I urge you to read the piece by Daniel Horowitz and recognize what you can do. Because the kind of thinking that says, I'm in charge and I don't really have to listen to these ridiculous people trying to complain about it. I don't even have to listen to the other 4 members of the county commissioner's court. It's an emergency. I have absolute power. This mindset is spreading among leftists in this country. It is fomented in part by fear, genuine fear about the virus, and some citizens who feel extreme fear and want there to be a little emperor in their county. But it's also a change in the very culture of government we agreed to as a country. We don't have little emperors in counties and cities and states around this country taking away freedom with an indeterminate length of time based on this virus or any other threat. We have to recognize we are watching the frittering away, the pecking away, the hacking away at freedom, and stand up now and point it out to your local officials. Don't wait until there's a really, really big problem in this country. Stand up for freedom now.